Let me paint you a picture. Two people, same city, same zip code, same Starbucks on the corner. Person A pulls in $95,000 a year. Person B makes $52,000. Now guess which one has actual money in the bank. Go ahead, guess. If you said Person A, congratulations. You fell for the trap that keeps most people financially paralyzed their entire lives. Person B has 18 months of expenses saved, invests 20 of every paycheck, sleeps like a baby. Person A checking their bank balance with the energy of someone defusing a bomb. Two missed paychecks from a full-blown crisis, same neighborhood. The person earning nearly half as much has roughly 10 times the financial stability. So what is going on here? Is Person B some kind of financial wizard? Did they inherit money? Win a bet? Nope. They just figured out one thing that most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Your stuff is costing you way more than you paid for it. And until you understand that, your income doesn't matter. You could be making $200,000 and still feel broke. Which, by the way, plenty of people are. Today, I am walking you through the minimalist money rules that actually separate people who always have money from people who perpetually don't. And before you click away thinking this is some eat beans and live in a van content, it is not. This is about math. Cold, honest, slightly uncomfortable math that nobody's sharing at dinner parties because it ruins the mood. Let's start with the concept that broke my brain when I first encountered it, and it'll probably break yours too. Everything you own costs you money twice. The first cost is the obvious one. The purchase price, the thing you handed over your card for, easy. But the second cost, most people never even see it coming, and it is often bigger than the first. The second cost is the ongoing tax you pay just for possession. Think about space. In most cities, you are paying somewhere between $30 and $50 per square foot annually for your living space. That treadmill in the corner that has become an extremely expensive clothes hanger takes up about 20 square feet, including clearance. That is up to $1,000 a year in implicit rent for a clothes hanger. And that is before we talk about the mental real estate it occupies. That low-grade guilt every time you walk past it because you haven't used it since the 2nd of January. Then there is maintenance. A boat sitting in your driveway doesn't sit for free. Winterization, insurance, registration, cleaning, repairs. The industry standard is roughly 10% of the boat's value annually just to own the thing. A $30,000 boat runs you $3,000 a year, whether it touches water or not. I repeat, whether it touches water or not. And here is the one that really hurts. OP, opportunity cost. Every dollar locked inside a possession is a dollar that isn't compounding in the market. That $15,000 home gym setup you assembled during a 2-week motivation phase. In index funds over 15 years, that could have been $50,000 or more. You didn't buy a home gym. You bought a home gym instead of a piece of your future financial freedom. The purchase price was just the cover charge. The real cost runs for as long as you own it. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Every object in your home suddenly comes with an invisible, ongoing invoice. Minimalists aren't Spartan weirdos who hate nice things. They've just done the math and decided most things aren't worth the full price. So let's talk about how to actually use this thinking. The first rule that changes everything is calculating cost per use before any purchase. Here is the formula. Take the total cost, divide it by the realistic number of times you'll actually use it. Realistic, not I am super motivated right now estimates, real ones. A $200 jacket you wear twice costs $100 per use. A $400 jacket you wear 200 times costs $2 per use. The expensive one is dramatically cheaper by every honest measurement. This single calculation destroys impulse purchases on contact. That $300 kitchen gadget you'll use 4 times a year costs $75 per use. Meanwhile, the $30 tool you reach for weekly costs under $1. The math exposes the lie hiding inside. It was on sale. Apply this rule and you'll quickly realize that quality items you use daily are almost always worth buying, while trendy items you are excited about once are almost never worth it. The math is neutral. It doesn't care about your feelings or the influencer who recommended it. Rule 2. Apply the replacement test to everything you already own. This one is uncomfortable in the best way. Walk through your home, look at each item, and ask yourself honestly, if this disappeared tomorrow, would I go spend money to replace it? Not, would it be kind of convenient? Would you actually reach for your wallet? Would you rebuy that fondue set, that bread maker, those jeans from 3 years ago that almost fit? For most things in most homes, the honest answer is no, you wouldn't replace them. They exist entirely through inertia, impulse buys, obligatory gifts, and souvenirs from personality phases you've moved past. Here is the kicker. Items you wouldn't replace aren't neutral, they're negative assets. They consume space, attention, and maintenance, while delivering nothing in return. Every minute spent organizing around something you don't want is a minute that could have gone literally anywhere else. Removing these things doesn't feel like loss, it feels like weight lifting off. Rooms breathe, decisions simplify, you always know where everything is because everything left has a reason to be there. Rule 3, never upgrade out of boredom. This one is where good incomes go to quietly disappear. Your TV works perfectly. Your phone makes calls, sends messages, runs apps. Your car gets you where you are going every single time. But there is a new version, and the new version is slightly better. And before you know it, you've traded a functioning object for a marginally upgraded one, and your net worth just quietly shrank. The average American replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years, often while the previous one works fine. Across 30 years, that pattern costs somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000. Apply that logic to cars, furniture, appliances, wardrobe, and the lifetime total in unnecessary upgrades easily clears $200,000. That is not a rounding error. That is a retirement fund. Minimalists have a ruthlessly simple standard: replace things when they fail to do their job, not when something newer exists. Boredom is not malfunction. Novelty is not necessity. Marketing is not reality. When you adopt this standard, you stop being a customer for problems you don't actually have. Rule 4. Engineer your environment to make saving automatic and spending effortful. Here is something critical about human behavior that most financial advice conveniently ignores. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes. By the time you are tired, stressed, or emotionally drained at 9 p.m., willpower is essentially gone. That is when the shopping apps get opened. That is when the AD2 cart button wins. Minimalists don't trust willpower. They build systems. Spending friction looks like deleting shopping apps, removing saved card numbers from retail sites, enforcing a 24-hour wait before any non-essential purchase, and unsubscribing from every promotional email. Saving ease looks like automatic transfers to investment accounts on payday, and treating savings like a bill rather than a leftover. The 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects evaporate within a day when not acted on immediately. The feeling you mistook for need turns out to just be marketing doing its job. Let it finish its shift and move on without costing you anything. Rule 5. Count your possessions deliberately. This sounds neurotic until you actually do it, and then you realize it is the fastest path to awareness. Pick a category: clothing, kitchen gadgets, shoes, books you'll never reread. Count, actually count, write it down. Most people guess dramatically low and discover they own 3 or 4 times what they estimated. The count changes behavior immediately. Once you know you own 47 shirts, buying shirt 48 carries different psychological weight. The absurdity becomes visible in a way it simply isn't when possessions are uncounted and invisible. Minimalists set maximum thresholds for key categories and use a 1-in-1-out rule where any new item requires removing an existing one. This single constraint creates the friction that prevents lifestyle creep before it happens. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you commit to ownership. Most purchased items follow the same curve: intense enthusiasm up front, rapid decline, eventual abandonment. The closets and garages of America are museums of past enthusiasms. Ski gear from the ski phase. Photography equipment from the photographer phase. Music gear from 2 shows in someone's garage. The pattern is almost universal. Minimalists test before they invest. Want to try camping? Rent equipment for 3 trips. First, want a kayak? Rent several times. Want to get into woodworking? Use a shared maker space. This approach reveals whether the interest is real or temporary. Better to discover it is temporary while renting than after buying a full setup that collects dust. It also teaches you exactly what you actually need, So when you do eventually buy, you buy precisely and well, rather than speculatively. Rule 7. Account for the lifestyle multiplier before any major purchase. No major purchase exists in isolation. Every significant item triggers a cascade of supporting expenses. A boat needs a trailer, a hitch, equipped vehicle, storage, supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. What appears to be one purchase is actually an ecosystem. A backyard pool needs chemicals, cleaning gear, covers furniture, and often landscaping. A home gym needs flooring, ventilation consideration, mirrors, and storage solutions. A motorcycle needs gear, maintenance equipment, and often a truck to transport it to riding locations. Minimalists calculate the full ecosystem cost before committing. A $5,000 purchase can represent $8,000 to $12,000 when the multiplier runs its course. This full accounting frequently transforms reasonable into clearly not worth it. Rule 8. Define enough before you need to. The trap that catches high earners relentlessly is that they never define what enough looks like. So they earn more, spend more, normalize the new level, and then need even more to feel like they're making progress. People making $300,000 often feel just as financially anxious as people making $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded in lockstep with every raise. Define enough in advance. Decide what kind of home genuinely meets your needs. What kind of car actually serves your transportation requirements? What level of comfort constitutes real satisfaction, not Instagram satisfaction, actual lived satisfaction? Then earn toward that target without constantly moving it. Someone who defined enough at $60,000 annually and then started earning $150,000 isn't deprived. They're building $90,000 of wealth per year. The person earning the same $150,000 but perpetually redefining enough upward might save nothing at all. Same income, completely different trajectories. Rule 9. Measure wealth by options, not objects. The conventional scoreboard counts what you have: cars, square footage, possessions that signal status. Minimalists run a different scoreboard. They measure what they can choose. Can you leave a job that is destroying your health? Can you take 6 months off for a family emergency? Can you start a business without a guaranteed income? Can you move cities for a relationship? Can you say no to a lucrative opportunity that compromises your values? Those options only exist when there is substantial margin between income and expenses. Someone earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost zero optionality. They're trapped by their own lifestyle. Someone earning $80,000 and spending $45,000 has extraordinary freedom to absorb disruption, take risks, and make decisions based on what they actually want. Every purchase isn't just an exchange of money for object. It is a trade of future optionality for present possession. That reframe doesn't mean never buying anything. It means every significant purchase should pass a simple test. Is this worth reducing my ability to make free choices about my life? Rule 10. Declutter cyclically, not annually. The annual purge is a trap. People do a massive clear out, feel incredible, and then gradually accumulate right back to the starting point. Within 2 years, they're exactly where they started. Except now they've donated a bunch of stuff they later repurchased. Cyclical decluttering works differently. Small, regular reviews instead of massive annual events. A quick weekly look at incoming items, a monthly evaluation of one category, a quarterly check on overall accumulation trends. Removing 3 items per week is sustainable and practically invisible in terms of effort. It also maintains ongoing awareness. You notice which categories tend to grow, which emotional states trigger purchases, which marketing tactics specifically work on you. Prevention beats treatment every time. Here is where all of this converges into something that actually matters. The relationship between minimalism and money runs in both directions. Owning less creates more money. Yes, but here's the part that makes the whole system self-reinforcing. Having more money makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is growing and your investments are compounding, the psychological urge to acquire diminishes. The underlying need that drives most consumption, the need for security, for status, for the feeling that things are going okay, gets met by financial strength instead of physical objects. Most people can't explain why they buy so much. The honest answer, most of the time, is that spending temporarily fills the emotional void that financial insecurity creates. Fix the insecurity with actual financial strength, and the compulsion often dissolves on its own, which creates a cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more creates security. Security reduces the emotional drive to spend, which accelerates saving further. Each turn reinforces the next. It compounds exactly like interest does. The opposite cycle is equally real and far more common. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary relief. More spending deepens insecurity, round and around until some external shock forces a reckoning. The choice between these two cycles determines your financial trajectory more than your income ever will. That is not hyperbole. High earners in the destructive cycle build nothing. Modest earners in the virtuous cycle build everything. The difference isn't salary. It is whether you've decided to own your possessions or let your possessions own you. If you want to start today. Here is the actual path this week. Do the replacement test on everything in one room. Identify 10 items you wouldn't replace if they vanished. Remove them. Notice how it feels. This month, enforce the 24-hour rule on every non-essential purchase. Track how many desires survive versus how many evaporate. This quarter, count possessions in 3 categories that tend to accumulate: clothing, kitchen items, and entertainment gear are good starting points. Set honest maximums. And at some point soon, get a piece of paper and define what enough actually looks like for you across housing, transportation, and lifestyle. Write it down. Refer back to it when the temptation to expand arises. The person in that second apartment, the one earning $52,000 with 18 months of savings, didn't get there through exceptional income. They got there through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. That clarity is available to everyone. No salary requirement, no special circumstances needed. Just the decision to stop measuring life by square footage and start measuring it by freedom. I am not a financial advisor, mortgage expert, or licensed financial professional. The content on this channel represents personal opinions only and is intended for educational and entertainment purposes. Please conduct your own research and seek professional guidance before making any major financial decisions. See you next time.